Make a new name for yourself. Look at what has happened to Michael Perry. You know, one of our big stars here, the king of violence. He titles himself, and he's had such a rise in the sport. Now he's up against a little dweeb of a thing in a fight this weekend that we're all rooting for him.
Don't aspire to be, one of these like YouTuber fighters.
Right.
Aspire for world titles. Aspire for Olympic.
That's him now. He's super jacked.
He looks like a bodybuilder.
See, that's what he looks like now. He's still jacked. Still looks great. He looks good, though.
Whoa.
He looks so old now.
He looks different.
In a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan broke down one of the most talked about potential matchups in combat sports, Conor McGregor versus Jake Paul. Rogan, known for his candid opinions and deep knowledge of MMA, shared his thoughts on how the fight could play out, analyzing both fighters' strengths and weaknesses. However, one recent topic that has sparked
perhaps the most important fight of your career. Give us your thoughts on this rematch. He should have killed me when he had the chance, because now I'm back and I'm gonna kill you and your whole team. You and their kids. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants. That's what I dreamed into reality. Oh, that looks good.
considerable conversation is his analysis of Conor McGregor's career trajectory, particularly how McGregor's self-destructive behavior contributed to his decline as a fighter. In a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan attributed McGregor's downfall to a combination of money, fame, and the self-destructive tendencies that came with them. I don't know if Conor is ever going to fight again. What's happening with his, the civil suit, he's being dropped by all his companies, or...
I don't know if Conor's ever going to fight again.
What's happening with his the civil suit? He's being dropped by all his companies or something?
Yeah, I don't know the real details of that case, but the reality is that guy's partying, and he's partying real hard.
Dude, some of his interviews, you can tell he is out of it. Have you seen the Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor interview for Roadhouse? And he's just tweaking the whole time?
He's
and
tweaking?
Jake's just like...
It's funny, Shane Gillis has a great bit about Conor McGregor in Roadhouse. He goes, Conor McGregor basically played a cooked-out Conor McGregor in Roadhouse.
Something, I don't know the real details of that case, but the reality is that guy's partying, and he's partying real hard, dude. Some of his interviews, you can tell he is out of it. Have you seen the Jay and Hall and Conor interview for Roadhouse? And he's just tweaking the whole time. Jake's just like... it's funny, Shane Gillis has a great pit about Conor McGregor in Road.
And there's something about calling somebody out, which you immediately respect them a little bit more, willing to put yourself out there for a fight.
He called out Conor McGregor too.
That's what Jake's doing.
Yeah.
That kid is a master troll, dude. He's a master creating hype. Dude, if I'm Dana White, I'm praying that this guy can actually.
Is this? A Jake Paul Amanda Nunes boxing match.
That's because Dana said maybe I'll let Amanda Nunes knock him out.
Now I think people are coming around. I say, if this kid was not a YouTuber, if he wasn't some guy that you knew from the time he was 16 years old on YouTube, and you just saw him box, and you saw him knock out former UFC champions, you saw him beat legitimate boxers, or beat athletes, and beat a bunch of MMA fighters, you'd go, this kid can fight. He knows how to fight. Nothing he's doing looks wrong. He's not sticking his head straight up in the air and winging punches with his eyes closed. He's fighting well. He looks good. And if he was just an up-and-coming boxer that was this exciting, highly promotable, really good at selling fights, you'd be like, this kid's the future.
For house he goes, Conor McGregor basically played out Conor McGregor in Roadhouse to understand the magnitude of Joe Rogan's critique. It's important to reflect on Conor McGregor's rise to the top. When McGregor entered the UFC, he was a force to be reckoned with, known for his brash personality and charismatic self-promotion. McGregor quickly established himself as a fan favorite. However, it wasn't just his personality that captivated the world. His performance inside the octagon...
UFC fighter Conor McGregor has been accused of sexually assaulting a woman after an NBA basketball game in Miami earlier this month. A legal letter outlining the allegations was sent to Mr. McGregor and seen by BBC News. It says the alleged assault took place in a bathroom at an arena in Miami. The woman's lawyer said she'd been watching Game 4 of the finals on Friday the 9th of June before the alleged incident happened. She alleged the woman was forced into a men's bathroom by security guards from the NBA and Miami Heat before being violently assaulted by Mr. McGregor. A lawyer representing Mr. McGregor said, "The allegations are false. Mr. McGregor will not be intimidated." Both the City of Miami Police and the Miami Heat, which hosted the NBA Finals game, say that they are conducting investigations.
Chandler, you said good match for Conor. Is that ever happening? Or
I don't know if Conor's ever going to fight again.
what's happening with his he just got like the civil suit or whatever, and he's being dropped by all his companies or something.
Yeah. I don't know the real details of that case. I know his version of it and her version of it and what played out in the court. But the reality is that guy's partying, and he's partying real hard. And he talked about it in the court case. He's talking about cocaine. Like that was the whole thing, that we're all doing cocaine, and we're
solidified his place in MMA history, perhaps the most important fight of your career. Give us your thoughts on this rematch. He should have killed me when he had the chance, because now I'm back and I'm gonna kill you and your whole team. You and I just want to say, from the bottom of me heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what he want. That's what I dreamed into reality. That looks good. One of the defining moments of McGregor's career came in 2015.
If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, it was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, you're like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's for real. Because nothing about watching him fight screams like he's in over his head. If it wasn't that big YouTube star, you'd be like, that dude's got dynamite in his hand.
It is, but I see a lot of people talking funny stuff about, like, the leg kick didn't knock him out. What happened? Like, so DC says in the detailed breakdown, I kick Conor's calf, and Conor steps back and his leg kind of goes, and DC says, well, that's the leg kick that, hurt his leg or whatever. But when he went after that leg kick, he kind of reached down to grab the foot and threw an uppercut. And I was switch stance, so I threw a cross from my backhand that clipped him good. And that's when he took the step back and was hurt. I think that's a detail people are missing, right hand.
Well, you certainly, you landed a lot of solid shots in that fight, but there's no doubt that leg kick was that right leg up.
For sure.
Let me show y'all proof that Conor McGregor did, in fact, injure the leg that he broke in the third Dustin Poirier fight 3 years ago, just weeks before their bout. Right here, drilling kicks over and over again. It was already taped up before that, and everyone was like, oh, he heard it off of a Dustin Poirier check. Y'all don't know shit about MMA. He even posted about this after the fight.
When he knocked out the legendary Jose Aldo in just 13 seconds to claim the UFC featherweight championship. McGregor's swift rise to the top was followed by his historic achievement at UFC 205 in 2016, when he became the first fighter in UFC history to hold 2 championships in different weight classes simultaneously. It seemed that nothing could stop McGregor, and he was on the verge of becoming the greatest fighter in MMA history.
Hey, I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but I know you probably signed an NDA, but blink twice if that Jake Paul fight was set up.
Blink twice.
I know you probably
I don't never blink because I got these little bitty eyes. I don't need much air, you know what I mean, to keep them open. A lot of people wonder that, but think about this. If I say Rampage pay you $2 million, right? Let this dude beat you, what you gonna do? You gonna feel disrespected, number one.
Yeah.
Right? That ain't enough money.
Yeah.
But I got paid in the Jake fights. For me to do that, I gotta be willing to walk away for good, and they gotta set me up for a while, at least not for life, but something like 20-something million where I can invest it and fall off in the shade, because that's what you would have to do. Would I do something like that? You would have to know me to know I'm too solid of a guy to even have somebody walk to me and ask me.
Yeah.
What happened to me is what was going to happen to him had he dropped those hands.
For me, just as a spectator, as a media guy, as a fan as well, like to see his UFC run end at the Apex with no one there, with no fanfare, with no video package, with no honoring, with no Hall of Fame, with no nothing, put me down. It made me feel very sad. I'm wondering, as someone who looked up to him, how you felt about that.
I don't get why you're not in the Hall of Fame.
I mean,
I agree,
already talked to you about that. That's not important for me, because...
But it's important for everyone around
but there's guys who retired years and years after you that got put in there. And you're more legendary than that.
I'm your father. I'm your daddy. Call me Jose Senor. Tell him I'm his daddy. I really don't care. Like, he can tellify whatever he wants, and I'll continue to be the champion. He said tell him he's his daddy. I said I am. His daddy sit on my left, on my what I'm saying is this. When you knock a champion who's been that dominant,
which is Dylan Dennis is a professional fighter. He's a professional fighter. He jumps out, he takes a swing at him. They're screaming, and Dylan's like, "Fuck you," and he's like, "Fuck you," and there's a bunch of people get involved, and then a bunch of other people jump in. The whole thing was nuts. But the idea that we should be shocked after him throwing a dolly at a bus because Khabib's on the bus, those Russians don't fucking play like that, man.
Yeah.
This
you
is
see the videos afterwards when Dagestan where they're shooting off Uzis and AK-47.
A woman who accused the mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor of raping her in a hotel in Dublin 6 years ago has won a civil case against him. The jury has found McGregor liable and ordered him to pay Nikita Hand €250,000 in damages.
And that good for 10 years, out. In 14 seconds, there is a question, which is, was that in some ways a fluke? However, as Rogan points out, the story of McGregor's downfall begins shortly after these peaks